Good afternoon and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the things you should not do when owning a luxury watch. So let's jump into it. Before I fully get into the video, there's a couple things I need to mention. First thing is my wristwatch check of the day. What am I wearing today? I'm wearing my Omega Seamaster 300M Professional in black with the black rubber strap. I really like this watch and I think it goes well with the leather actually. Kind of like the look of it. Quite casual but nice actually. What am I drinking today is the second thing. Well, quite boring I have to say. It's just some water. So feel free to indulge in something a little stronger if you're of legal age, or maybe just some coffee depending on what time of day it is for you. But now we can jump into the real video. Let's get into it. Before I begin the list today, I just want to say that you own your watch. It's your watch. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do. So if you see something on this list and you disagree with me, write it in the comments, but don't hold a grudge against me just because I suggested that you don't scratch your bracelet or something like that. These are just recommendations and just to make people aware of little things they can do to ensure the longevity of their watch. But you don't actually have to do them if you don't want to. If you only want to have your watch for a year, that's your choice. You can do so. So number one on this list, well, it's quite simple and something I see a lot of newbies in the hobby do a lot. And that is when they're propping up their watch. If they're not putting it in a holder or in a case, what they'll do is they'll have their watch leaning on the side of a table or something. So the problem with that is that normally they'll put the crown side down. Now there's a couple reasons why this is bad. The first off is that you're more likely to scratch the crown because it'll be rubbing against whatever surface you're putting it against. So if it's something like granite, it will scratch the watch. It will 100% scratch it. So best to light on the other side. And the other reason it's quite a bad thing to do is because it's going to be more unstable lying on the crown than if it was a slightly flatter surface on the other side of the watch. Now if you've got a watch like me, like the Omega Seamaster, you're kind of screwed either way because you have a helium escape valve on one side and a crown on the other. There is no real winning there. So it's just best to put this type of watch either in a holder or in a case when you're not wearing it. So this next thing is for people with bracelets on their watches. So if you're wearing your watch with a bracelet, you want to go to bed and you're taking your watch off for the night, putting it on the bedside table, what I'll see people do quite a lot is they won't extend their bracelet out properly and they will not lay the watch down correctly. What will happen is the bracelet will just get close to the case back, fall over, and obviously your watch is more likely to then fall off the bedside table and potentially get damaged really badly, or the actual watch will fall over on itself and the back of the bracelet will rub against the back of the watch. So over time you'll just get micro scratches on the back of your case back. So if you don't want that to happen, all I'd recommend doing is just putting your hands in between the watch's bracelet and the case back and extending it outwards when laying it down, just to ensure that it won't fall over. This is a tiny detail. I know some people don't care about their case backs because they don't see them, but if you're one that does, then this is a tiny little detail that you can implement into your daily routine quite easily. So the next thing is very simple and very straightforward. Probably not really worth mentioning, but I thought I'd say regardless, just in case some people have forgotten. And that is the fact that your watch is not waterproof. Even if you have a 6,000 meter depth rating on your dial, this watch is not waterproof, but water resistant. Only will maintain that resistance if kept in working order. That means regular services, maybe once every 5 years, and also maintaining the crown to be screwed down every time you go underwater. So even if you're trying to go into a swimming pool or something and your watch is rated for 300 meters, it will not hold water out if your crown is left unscrewed. So just a really basic thing. If you're going to try and submerge your watch or even have a light sprinkle of water on your watch, please make sure your crown is screwed down if you have a screwed down crown. And if you don't have a screw down crown, your watch is not water resistant, so don't go anywhere near water with it unless you want to have your watch destroyed entirely, because water is one of the worst ways to destroy your watch. I'll get onto the absolute worst near the end of the video. Let's go on to the next thing though. So the next thing is quite a basic thing, but something that I think everyone's fallen in the trap of if you've owned watches for a while, and that is impulse selling your watch. You may have quite a large collection and feel like some of your watches aren't getting the full use they're used to, so maybe it's better to move them onto a new home, refund your watch into something else, maybe another watch or maybe another project. But the thing is, I wouldn't do that because a lot of the time you will not be able to buy your watch back for the price you sold it. So for me personally, this was actually happened to me with the Phoebus Wavemaster, a fairly new watch for me in my collection when I was first starting out. I then had the watch for about a year, didn't really wear it, so I then moved it on. Annoyingly enough, I kind of regretted that because later on that year after I sold the watch, my brother was looking at buying that exact watch, and it at that point then increased in price by at least £100. So it's kind of annoying that if I'd have known that, I would have hung on to it and just given it to him and saved him the money. Kind of annoying, but I also want to give you some advice on how to stop this from happening. So if there's a watch that you're feeling like you don't really wear, there's a couple things you can do. Before you sell it, I would recommend changing the strap. Maybe onto a bracelet, maybe onto a different type of strap. If you have it on leather, maybe try a NATO strap. Wear it on a different strap for a bit and see if that rekindles some of that magic, and you may love that watch again. It does add a completely different feel to the watch, just changing the strap. The other thing to do is maybe put your watch away for a bit and see if you miss it. If you miss that watch, don't sell it, simple as. And it may actually just then rekindle another honeymoon for you. You may have that brand new watch feel again when you get it out of your box and try it on again. But I would recommend holding on to it as long as you can before selling it, because otherwise you probably won't be able to buy it back again for the same price, and it sort of feels like a kick in the teeth then. So the last thing is something very obvious to all veteran collectors, but all those new collectors, I want to point your attention to one detail, the detail that is going to cause more watches than ever to be broken every year, and that is dropping your watch. Watches are not like phones. Phones are pretty hardy things, they don't have many moving parts, whereas watches are the complete opposite. You can have watches with, 400 pieces inside, maybe even more. And they all move and they all serve a purpose. They have to be precisely calibrated and precisely built, serving that purpose. So when you drop a watch, those tiny little gears could shift inside the watch, causing it to lose time, be less accurate, or straight up not work. So under no circumstance should you ever put your watch on in the bathroom. It's a terrible idea. You're going to be putting your watch on with wet hands potentially around some of the hardest surfaces in the house. If you're like me and you have like a granite floor or just tiled floor, then you drop your watch, it's going to break. There's no question about it. The crystal may stay intact, but the watch inside will be so shooken by the impact, it will just break. There's no point in risking it. So I'd advise all of you to put your watch on over your bed. Now I don't mean like a couple meters from your bed while standing up. I mean sit down on your bed and put your watch on there. Because if your hands slip and your watch falls, there's going to be no risk there. It's going to land on soft cushions and a blanket or whatever you have on your bed. There's no risk then. It's just not worth it otherwise, because you're going to risk damaging your watch long term or potentially having to have it completely reserviced or replaced because it just may not work. That's all I have to say for today's video. I really hope some of these have helped you out. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment saying so. Subscribe if you haven't already, it's free after all. But that's this video. Goodbye.